Let's talk automotive now. Bill Carter's with us in the studio, Head of Valuations and Product Manager at Autodata Middle East. Bill, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So one of our top stories today is good news for the auto industry, a record year for the United States in 2015, selling 17.5 million cars, SUVs and pickups. But not such good times for the UAE auto industry. 2014 was a bumper year, but 2015 was the year when things started to get a bit tough, and you think 2016 could be tougher still. Give us the kind of 60-second overview, first of all, then we'll look at some of your trends for 2016.
Okay, yeah, I think there were various factors that affected the market in 2015. Things like the value of the ruble dropping, which meant the Russian markets were closing, various other export markets closed. And so 2015 became very, very tough. One of the problems we have in this market is there are no official figures released on actual sales. The figures that are bandied around actually include exports as well, so that creates lots of problems in finding out what the true size of this market is, and hopefully that will be resolved with a project we're working on with the government this year. So hopefully we'll be able to report some actual true sales figures later.
So in the way that we have a US figure for 2015, which was 17.5 million, we'll have a figure for the UAE.
Yes.
The figures that I have, I dug up a report from IHS Automotive, which is an independent research company, and they were saying sales in the GCC up maybe 1% in 2015 after double-digit growth in 2013 and 2014. Broadly speaking, where does that chime with your sense of the new car market?
Yeah, it's probably not far away from the truth. The problem is most of the figures that are quoted actually, as I say, include a lot of export sales as well. Our view is that if you take out the level of exports that have been going on from this market, we estimate this market for 2015 is probably down between 5 and 10%. So
that's UAE new car sales.
UAE new car sales, yes.
Talk about sort of the export market. Where do we have organised export market, or is it sort of casual stuff like Egyptian teachers driving their Peugeots home to Cairo in the summer, or is it sort of stuff being put on a dhow over to Iran? What is the export market?
Well, the export market has been a long stay thing in this market, and they're exported out to various regions. Usually out to the CIS states, and Russia used to be a very big market for us. We used to have buyers coming over, going into dealerships and buying lots and lots of cars in one go and paying full retail price for them. But obviously once the ruble dropped in value, that switched off. Another export market is obviously Iran and Iraq and places like that. And China, funnily enough. Now, what's happened now is that the manufacturers, the principals, are putting pressure on the dealers here not to export to China because it's hurting their official dealers in China. So, again, there's a bit of a conflict of interest going on.
Yeah, usually producers don't like this grey market where it destroys one of their distributors, yeah.
So just remind me, why would somebody in Russia want to come and buy cars from the UAE and export them to Russia rather than walk into the Ford, Toyota, BMW dealership in Moscow or St. Petersburg?
A couple of reasons normally. Price is one. Because of taxation, etc., the price will be lower here. And obviously different specifications. The vehicles that are coming into this market vary in specification compared to what you get in Europe, North America, etc. So very often people make the mistake of importing a car from, say, the US or Europe, only to find that, yes, it is cheaper, but it's not the same specification that you would get from the original dealer here. And there's also other problems with grey imports about not meeting certain specifications for this region, especially for the heat. Tyres is a huge problem here.
In what way?
Well, this region is regarded as super hot by manufacturers. So they will specify that the tyre rating for this region must be of a certain temperature. Now, vehicles that are coming in from Europe and the US don't have that temperature rating on their tyres, so their tyres are not fit for purpose for this region. So usually the first thing that people have to do, although they don't know it until something goes wrong, is they have to change all the tyres, because the temperature area is so much hotter than you will get in the US or Northern Europe. So there are all sorts of issues that start to take effect.
So if you look at that figure that you guys at Autodata have of maybe 5 to 10% decline in new car sales for the UAE domestic market last year, so how many do we think we might have sold last year?
I reckon that it's around about the 400,000 mark.
For the domestic market?
Yeah, for the domestic market.
So is there also evidence of people either trading down, buying a smaller car than they had before, or even going into the second-hand market?
Yes, definitely. There's a definite move to downsize. I've been talking to various dealer groups over the last few days and getting their views of what's going on. And yes, there is a definite move to downsize. And it's also partly to do with demographics. We've seen a change this year, certainly from friends I know in the construction industry, where Western expat managers have been replaced by managers from Asia, and their buying habits for cars are totally different. Whereas the Western expats would buy large SUVs, Prados, Nissan Patrols, Land Cruisers, the big American stuff, the Asian expats tend to buy in smaller sedan cars. So you've got this shift in the shape of the actual market itself, which is then creating havoc in the used car market because we're getting oversupply. So, there's an oversupply currently of SUVs that can't be sold because the buyers are not there. And there's the pent-up demand for the smaller sedans.
So this is a great time to be a buyer of a big car.
Yeah, to a certain degree, yes, it is. But the knock-on effect is the values are dropping. So, yes, it's great if you're buying a car. If you're trying to sell one, it's not such good news if you've got a big SUV because the values are starting to fall away.
So it's actually great to buy a car. Driving out of the showroom is the wrong thing to do because it goes down by about 30 or 40% in value.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I've been talking to one dealer group. I won't mention the name, but they've recently launched a high-end luxury replacement model. The old model, the 2015 model, has dropped about 40% in retail value. You go onto their website and they've got some examples for sale, 40% less than new. So you can imagine how much they're going to pay if you trade one of those in.
Well, Richard's got a story, hasn't he?
And this is actually why you're in the studio, because you and I were chatting yesterday off air. And I bought a new car 18 months ago and drove it out of the showroom. German car, not quite luxury car, but nice car.
I think it is a luxury car, actually.
Okay,
it is a luxury
car, fine. It's a low-end luxury car. And I was looking to trade it in to replace it with something else for the family. And I was offered, 18 months later, it's done 30,000 kilometres, perfect condition, less than 50% of what I paid for it. And I phoned up Bill and said, is this normal? And you said, well, actually, yes. And I sort of fell off my chair and said, well, you better come in and talk to us about this because people need to know about this. What's the deal in the second-hand car market, Bill?
Okay. There's a couple of things that come into play. You will usually get less for a trade-in if you're trading a car in not into its original franchise dealer. So you're always going to get the best price for your car, normally, if you go back to the dealer where you bought it.
So if you've got a Ford to trade in, you're going to get a better deal from Ford than you are from Toyota?
Yeah, in general terms, yes. Now, that does vary. Now, what can happen is, especially in the premium brand manufacturers such as yours, is they want conquest sales. So if you was to go into another premium brand, they want to try and get you into their car and out of the car you're in.
I love that phrase. What is it?
Conquest.
Conquest sales.
Brilliant.
Yeah, conquest sale. And this is quite common within the motor industry across the world. For argument's sake, if you're
Walk
driving
into the Rolls-Royce showroom and telling me you drive a Bentley, Rich. See what happens, man.
Yeah, that's it. And that's true all the way down the line.
Fantastic.
That's true all the way down the line. The dealers are incentivized by the manufacturers to get people into their brand. So there will be times, and it's about picking the right time and seeing who's doing the best deal, that it does actually pay to change brand. Not very often, but there are times when it happens, and they will actually pay over the odds.
So it's important for you to tell them what you're driving?
Yes, it is. Very important.
Do they buy the car from you? I mean, can you
Yes.
lie? Oh, right, okay, so you can't lie about it.
Well, no. It depends.
Take your Toyota outside and say, actually, I drive a Bentley or something.
Yeah, I don't think they'd fall for that one, Malcolm. No. But you never know. So there are times when it pays to go to another dealer, but in general terms, it's better to go back to the supplying dealer.
So what happens in 2016? We've got 30 seconds left.
Okay. 2016, the general view is it's going to be a flat year. There may even be a slight decline. There are things on the horizon. One bright spot for the car manufacturers would be Iran with the dropping of sanctions. That opens up a huge export market. Obviously, with the events of the last few days, that bright light is starting to flicker a bit now, so we're not quite sure what's going to happen. But in general terms, we see more downsizing, and we also see a slight decline. Possibly, if it's good, it'll be flat, but we do not see any growth.
Bill Carter, Head of Valuations, Product Manager at Autodata Middle East. Really appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you.